Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got a gosh darn beautiful day upon us here. We got a very special guest. We got the legend Joe Diesel Riggs, as always, and one of the most exciting fighters that has ever lived, and that's Iron Mike Chandler. So grab yourself a refreshment. Let's get that posture cranked up. Let's get serious here. We got a good one. Here we go. Okay, boys, this video is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's so simple. You go to the App Store, download PrizePicks. NFL playoffs this weekend, and PrizePicks has got a good deal for you here. We got Jaden Daniels, free square. All he's got to do is pass for 0.5 pass yards, and you win that square. Place a $5 lineup for new users when you use code TIMBO, and you get $50 instantly, no strings attached. Here's the scoop. Place a $5 lineup when you use code TIMBO to get $50 instantly. NFL playoffs this weekend. Keep an eye out on my Instagram or my Snapchat story for my picks. I'm trying to find my smartest buddies when it comes to that stuff that research it and give you guys the best picks possible. That's code TIMBO. Dude, thanks a lot, Michael, for making the time, brother.
Of course, man. I love that. Love that intro. Love the music. Love the grab a refreshment, a little sip. Man, that's good. We're in a good spot. Let's go.
So we just got done with the UFC. What'd you think of that main event real quick?
Man, it's crazy. You know, obviously being there, for me, it was bittersweet because I saw Charles front and center. Now he's the number one contender. But obviously I was watching as a fan, and the way Arman had to pull out of the fight 12 hours before, and then obviously Moicano getting steamrolled in a minute or two was pretty crazy. But here we are, man. Islam's the real deal. Moicano stepped up. Islam stepped up. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think Moicano stepping up isn't as impressive as the champ laying it all on the line on short notice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll get back to some more UFC news soon. You moved to a new house. I remember seeing a tour somewhere of your old house, and that old house was real pimp. So you moved to a new one, huh?
Yeah, it was a great house, man. You know, we're welcoming a baby girl here in a couple month or two. So
hell yeah.
The last house, we were about to grow out of it. So we were looking for a place. We were going to build on some land. We have 4 acres here in Nashville. We were going to build on it, and it was just going to take forever. So we found this house, just installing sound panels and stuff here in the studio. So I'm kind of finally get my studio set up. The house finally feels like home, and we're happy about it.
And is it like an acre that you have now?
We're 2.7.
Oh, sweet.
So Nashville's got some decent land out here. Arizona, though, by the way, for the people who don't know, obviously you're in Arizona. I feel like Arizona, everything is an acre out there. Everything is so big and so spread out. Here in Nashville, you think you can get a lot of land, and you can outside of the city, but inside of the city, man, everything's half acre, maybe an acre. So you really got to find these couple acre spots when you can.
So 2.7, you plan on getting any animals soon?
Probably not. Maybe when I slow down a little bit. Don't know if I ever will slow down. Let's be honest. Maybe some chickens. You know, I've always wanted a couple goats. Those like little miniature goats that runs around with a dog. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Whatever the kids want.
Yeah, maybe when the boys get a little older, we can give them some chores, take care of the animals.
Yeah. Go out, got to pick some fresh eggs, man. Get that protein in the morning.
Hell yeah. So after you graduated from Mizzou, did your parents try to talk you out of fighting, or were they all on board?
I wouldn't say they tried to talk me out of it, but it was more just, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And luckily for me, I had the proof in the pudding of Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, both guys who were like my big brothers and I wrestled with in college. So I was like, hey, Mom, Dad, they're doing it. They're doing pretty darn good. If anything, I was tougher than both of those guys as far as like actually wanting to be in the fight of a wrestling match. And obviously they went off and became successful. So yeah, I graduated in May of 2009, fought my first fight in August of 2009, and haven't looked back since, man. 32 fights, 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah, no, it's pretty badass. So how come you've always liked to just throw bombs compared to, watching Ben Askren take people down and just dominate people? You've just wanted to go in there and throw hooks when you could take people down, wrist ride them, and really beat their ass. How come you really fell in love with that?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I think my wrestling style, I will admit, you can do it in wrestling because you're not getting hit in the face, right? You can be constantly on offense and maybe you get taken down. Who cares? Get back up and, try to get that takedown back. In the sport of mixed martial arts, obviously you can get clipped. So you need to be a little bit smarter. And I haven't shown a lot of smarts in a lot of my fights, but a lot of times it's worked out. People can go and look at my record and say, man, if he would have just fought smarter, he would have beat this guy. But truthfully, if I would have fought smarter, I could have lost a couple fights that I won because I put the pressure on people and they feel uncomfortable. And a lot of times I can get the finish, but when you're fighting the best guys in the world, and that's one thing I have done, man, coming into the UFC, I fought nothing but top contenders for the most part. And sometimes it just doesn't work against those guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny it. You came into the UFC clean off a KO, off of Sydney Outlaw, KO'd Benson Henderson, TKO'd Dan Hooker, and then went to battle with Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje. And it probably does affect your paydays too. Your paydays are probably a lot fatter than they'd be if you just took someone down and stalled them out for 15 minutes every time.
Yeah, you know the business. I mean, we are a stock, right? There's a big stock market on those boards of the UFC office, and it's not that they, like certain people because of certain things. It's like, are you marketable? Do you do your job? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you show up? And for me, obviously, I think the fact that I fight so entertainingly is icing on the cake. I think trying to be a good employee and show up and just do my best, like I do my best in everything, just like even today, sitting here, I was 10 minutes early, sit down, get my mind right, be ready to give you the best of me. And this is just an interview, right? Compared to my actual job, right? I think it's just the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think I told Hunter Campbell right away when I came into the UFC, I said, Hunter, I want to be a good thing for your organization. And I want to fight the top guys right away. I don't want to come in and pussyfoot around the top 20. I want to fight the toughest guys right away. Poirier said no. Ferguson said no. And Dan Hooker said yes. And I will always be indebted to the stud that is Dan Hooker for saying yes to that fight. And obviously it worked out well. And then Khabib retiring and Conor and Poirier being tied up with their trilogy. So therefore they weren't going to get the title shot. So it was me and Oliveira, and I ended up fighting for the title, my second fight in the UFC.
Was there anybody who really motivated you to just be a character on the mic? I mean, it's hard after you get done with a bloody war. It's, man, you want to be humble. You want to thank people. You want to thank your family. But that really is your time to shine and make a statement for your next fight. Is there anyone who stuck out to where you're like, fuck, they're on to something there?
No, not really, because I would watch guys and I would tweak a lot of things the way guys would talk, right? Because number one, you got to be able to walk it and talk it, right? And then whenever you come off a big win or even a great fight, even if you do fall short, I've always shown how tough I am. And so it's like it demands respect no matter what. But more than anything, I think that those mic skills were born in the UFC. You listen to me on the mic in Bellator, I was just kind of, thank my family, thank God, just like quiet and copacetic. Whereas I came to the UFC and I thought, okay, now I'm at the top level. I'm fighting the toughest guys right away. I've got the biggest crowd of witnesses, the most amount of people watching me right now, and I'm fighting against the toughest guys in the world and the toughest organization in the world. And before I came to the UFC, I didn't give myself permission to do that because I knew I was one of the best guys in the world, but I hadn't proven it yet by being in the UFC. And once I got to the UFC, I said, okay, all bets are off, and now we're going to call out everybody. So I didn't, my first fight in the UFC after beating number 5, that warranted me calling out Khabib, calling out Conor, calling out Poirier, calling out all the big names in my weight class. But I just had to go there and do my job first. And once I did my job that first time, January of 2021, it was time to start moving toward that title.
Yeah. And for the newer fans that haven't been around for too long, 2, 3, 4 years. If you go back to watch some of Michael's fights in Bellator, I forgot you fought one of my old teammates, Lloyd Woodard. Was that in the finals or the semifinals? Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Dude, get out of here. Lloyd Woodard was my first decision. Really? I actually, I'm writing a book right now. So I was going through the interview process. And so I was kind of going through my record, and we were kind of just bringing up little stories about my record. And part of some of the slumps and stuff I've gone through was I came out hot. My first 12 fights, my 12th fight, I finished Eddie Alvarez, right? The number 3-5 guy in the world. But prior to that, I only had 2 decisions. It was Patricky Pitbull, and my first one ever was Lloyd Woodard in Oklahoma in the semis of the Bellator tournament. So that was the first time that I fought for 15 minutes. And my God, dude, Woodard was an absolute freaking maniac, dude.
Yeah.
And every time I was around him, I was like, I like this guy. Freaking handlebar mustache. He's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we get back, drink a couple brewskis together and just hang out as boys. But hey, it turns out we got to fight each other, you know? But yeah, dude, what a stud. And that was 3 fights in 3 months. I was in the middle of that with an injury and all kinds of stuff that culminated to the Bellator title.
So that was your first time going to a decision in your 10 fights into your career at that time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheesh.
And most of them were first round finishes. So it's like, dude, I think 9 of my first 12 were finishes, and 7 of them were in the first round. So, you know, it's great. You go out there, you dominate, you don't take any damage, but you got to be able to settle in for those 25-minute wars, those 15-minute wars, you know?
Yeah. I mean, especially wrestling, the shorter periods, you put the pedal to the metal the whole time, and then you get through however many fights putting the pedal to the metal. It's crazy how much confidence you get, though, and how scary it is. Like, damn, when's someone going to take me 15 minutes? And am I going to be able to swim when we go that 15 minutes? So, yeah,
it's one of the scariest parts of the sport, right? You know, the old saying, fatigue will make a coward of us all. It doesn't matter how tough you are sitting there or how tough I am sitting here. Get me really, really tired where my back is up against the wall and see if I can sink or swim. And once you've been there a couple times and realize you're not made of glass, you're not going to die, you're like, man, F it, let's go.
Yeah, that's where even Suga versus Merab, he got a lot of confidence versus Merab. People, I mean, even though he got beat, he got a lot of confidence. It's like he went 25 minutes against the cardio machine, and people forget that in the 5th round, he was stalking Merab down, and he won the 5th round, and he hurt him bad in the 5th. So even though he did get beat, he did get a lot of confidence from going 25 minutes with that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was there cage side for that fight. The best seat I've ever had in my life was that night, because that was at the Spear, and they had us guest fighters elevated, and I was like eye level, not with their feet, but eye level with their eyes. It was the best view I'd ever had. Cool. So that was one of my favorite fights I've ever seen. And yeah, dude, Merab Dawashvili, whatever, how the heck you would say his name, but Merab has the best cardio in mixed martial arts of all time, in my opinion. So that was a good fight to watch, and you got to have confidence after that, man. And I have, even though I lost my last fight against Charles, I have confidence now. I went 25 minutes and still felt great in the 5th round, almost got the finish in the 5th round, and compared to some of the other times I went 25 minutes where I was on the edge of dying in my performances.
Yeah, it's weird too. I mean, you get an athlete like you who probably sleeps good, clearly you eat good, you train, you're early to things, you're like a championship level athlete. But I saw this interview from one of Merab's teammates or friends, says he's late to practice. He'll stay up till 2-3 a.m. He eats like shit. He just doesn't really stretch. He doesn't warm up. He's just a fucking little freak.
Yeah, I mean, some guys are like that, man. I've been around guys. I've been around guys like that too, where you're just like, it doesn't compute. I do everything right, and I put all this pressure on myself to do everything perfectly. And sometimes I think it hinders my performance compared to some guy who kind of takes it seriously, doesn't really take it that seriously, eats like crap, but it's the winning edge, right? It's the winning edge. Like, you are going to win no matter what. You're going to win whether you do it perfectly. You're going to win whether you have a crappy camp, whether you cut corners or not. I'm just not wired that way. And I've tried to be wired that way and show myself more grace. But dude, it's athletics in general is a very interesting mindset.
Yeah, for sure. So when you started making your first like decent little paydays in Bellator, what'd you do with it? Did you buy yourself something nice, or have you always been decently good at putting your money away?
I've been very decently good at putting my money away. I won that first $100,000, bought a house in Las Vegas, lived in it for a couple of years, then rented it out for a couple of years, moved to San Diego, bought a house there. I mean, I've bought a house in all the different cities that I've lived in, and then either rented it out or cashed in on the equity. And then once I started, the biggest thing is realizing that your paycheck isn't really your paycheck. Your paycheck is actually, depending on how much money you make, 40% less, 30% less, 25% less because of taxes. Once I'm able to set aside enough for taxes for tax season in April, all the rest of the money I have has been working toward prudent, smart investments. And that's why ultimately I was willing and able to fight out my contract. I'm so happy that I was smart with my money, because when I came to the UFC, I didn't need the money. I wanted the money, and I wanted the platform, and I wanted everything, but I was so smart with my money that I was able to go to the UFC and take a pay cut if I had to. Now, luckily it worked out where I didn't have to take a pay cut, but I was willing to do that and bet on myself. So I've just always been, I got a little bit of a scarcity mindset with money, a little bit of fear of losing it all. I grew up very lower middle class, mom and dad always afraid about money. So part of that is a blessing and part of that is a curse. And I'm working through it all the time. But I've been making a lot of investments since I made my first 6 figures.
Hell yeah. Do you dabble in the crypto at all?
I haven't gotten into it much. I will say I got a $20,000 crypto.com bonus. I don't know if you remember that a couple years ago. I got the $20,000 one and it's sitting at about $100 right now. So that was good. Crypto's doing great. I'm all ears for investment advice in crypto because obviously with the new administration coming in, sounds like it's going to be growing nonstop. So I need to look more into it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, I mean, there's been rumors popping around about you and Paddy Pimblett. I mean, do you think that's a possible fight? And if it is, how do you think it's going to play out?
I definitely think it's possible at this point. It's just this sport is so nuts, man. I mean, dude, if you would have asked me before the Arman versus Islam debacle, right? I'd be like, well, yeah, Paddy is a higher likelihood. And now it might have gone down because why wouldn't I fight Arman next, right? Arman's got to come back and fight his way back into the opportunity to fight for the title because of, whether it was an injury or hurt or weight cut, whatever it may be. But Paddy's definitely a possibility. It's a big fight. It's a fun fight. It's a fight that I like stylistically, not to take anything away from him. But when you fought Poirier, you fought Gaethje, you fought Oliveira, you fought Dan Hooker, the fighting Paddy Pimblett sounds like a fun day at the office compared to some of those. And I like him. I do. I think Paddy's got a great brand. I like the way he carries himself. He gets a little fat in the off season. That would be about the only thing I would change about him. But no, I think it'd be fun, and I'd love to go out there and lock horns with him.
Okay, boys. This video is also brought to you by VIIA Hemp. VIIA gives you the freedom to blaze your own trail, and it's federally legal across the U.S. Whether you are recovering from a hard grappling session or ready to scrap on the mats, VIIA Hemp has you covered. Their organic hemp is grown without pesticides and harsh chemicals. It's a real quality product. I really like their flower. It's smooth. It helps you relax and just have a good time. Their gummies are also great right before practice. I like the Elevate gummy to help dial in a little low dose milligram, or after practice, the Cloud 9 to chill out. Check out the link in the description and use code TIM for 15% off. So for Arman first, would you prefer to get 15 minutes with Arman or 25?
I like the idea of 25 against Arman. I always like the idea of 25. I think I can withstand that pace for 25 minutes, as I showed in my last fight. If it would be 15, it's 15. Coming back, I was a little beat up after the last fight. I don't like to talk about in the fight because it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I did something to my knee in that first round. After that, I couldn't get my footing. So after that, I ended up falling like 4 times in the fight, fell and like dislocated my thumb because I just fell. It's like it was a weird fight, right? So I got a couple little injuries going on that I'm rehabbing through and doing some PT. So middle of the year, International Fight Week sounds fun. And whoever they throw at me, I think 15 minutes, 25 minutes, Arman, Paddy. I didn't win my last fight, so I'm not in a position to be calling people out. Obviously, I had a big old call out list with Max Holloway, Conor. Always got to talk about Conor because if he ever does come back, his road goes through Nashville, Tennessee. So yeah, man, we'll see.
Yeah, do you think that fight is completely out the window?
I don't. I don't think that any fight Conor McGregor ever fighting, is ever out the window until he says he's done and he's retired. The guy's got this. The guy needs this. The guy needs this like he needs oxygen. He loves it. And even seeing him with the Paul brothers, talking about the Paul brothers being a side job, a quick little, make a bunch of cash thing. And Logan saying, hey, you don't even do your first job, let alone a side job, which I thought was a great idea, a great comeback.
Yeah.
And it's true. I think Conor's got an uphill battle here with, just getting out of the limelight for the wrong reasons. And the best thing I think he can do is get into a training camp. And I haven't been promised it, but there's been a lot of assurances that when he comes back, he's going to fight me, because why wouldn't he?
And with someone like Conor, who's a sniper like that, when I think about that fight, I think about you coming out, force him into a couple wrestling scrambles, take the explosiveness out of his arms a little bit. Or are you saying, fuck that, I'm knocking him out with some hooks first round?
I think it would be poised pressure. Conor does a really good job with that step back left hand. But it's always off of obviously someone throwing a right hand. You mean the greatest combination I've ever seen in my entire life was his 4-piece combo he hit Eddie Alvarez with to become the champ. It was beautiful, and that's what you got to look at. I think it's just quiet, hard pressure. That's not too crazy, not too fast, not too slow. And just wilt him. I mean, there's no doubt I'm a better athlete. There's no doubt I have better cardio. There's no doubt I have a better champion mindset. I just got to be there a little bit longer than him, not get hit with the left hand, and I beat him easily.
Hell yeah. So what's a morning routine for Michael Chandler look like? I mean, this morning I really am proud of my morning routine. I really fucking think it's the reason where my life's where it's at. Woke up this morning, got a little red light, got a little PMF machine, went and did a little light workout, sat in the sauna, then got my coffee, my eggs. What's your morning routine look like when you're wanting to have a dialed day?
Dude, that sounds amazing. And yeah, I think we are prone to wander as human beings, man. And when you wake up and everything's chaotic, it's tough to get into a groove, right? I always say, I love my kids so much, more than anything in the entire world, but I don't want to be woken up by my kids. You know, the whole Hallmark commercial where mom and dad are laying in bed, the kids come in. I mean, that's all beautiful and fine and dandy on a Hallmark movie. But man, I want to be up before everybody. I want to be up and be in charge of my day. So when I get up before everybody, I have a red light bed, the 10X red light bed down here in my basement. Get in there, journal a little bit, listen to some music, kind of set the intention for my day, then hit the PEMF mat. And then today I had physical therapy, but it's always coffee, red light therapy, PEMF mat, get my mind right, whether I'm visualizing, whether I'm praying, whether I'm spending time in the Word, whether I'm journaling, something where I take control and I do something to move my day forward before my day really even starts, before my kids even wake up, before my wife gets out of bed. That is the best thing that I have been able to do, especially in this time where, you know how it is during a training camp. You feel that significance nonstop, right? There's significance. You got a goal, you got a target, you got something you're aiming toward. Right now, I don't exactly have that. So therefore, it's even more important for my morning routine to be dialed in, because I could very easily just start to slowly and slothily fall into laziness and falling off the wagon.
Yeah. And what kind of coffee machine do you got? What kind of coffee you do in the morning?
Man, I do, I like that layered creamer. The layered creamer with just coffee, Starbucks, Black Rifle, whatever my wife gets.
From the pot? Just straight from the pot?
We have an espresso machine. So we do that. We had a built-in one at the last house. We're kind of experimenting here with the new house. Are we going to get one built in, or are we going to just keep the one above the countertop? So I got a nice espresso machine that just does it all for me. And then it's 2 minutes later, I got a nice big old cup of coffee. And yeah, man, obviously you're a coffee guy. You got two in front of you, it looks like.
Yeah, well, I got this Element creatine here, and then we got a Java House at the dojo. So we have some coffee just here at the dojo. Quality coffee. We got a nice La Marzocco machine, and we have some fresh beans. So a real quality cup of Joe.
Come on, man. Send your boy some, man. I got I need some whole beans.
I will for sure. So you've never really dabbled in the marijuana or nicotine?
I've dabbled in the nicotine, just mainly because of the studies that show the cognitive enhancement, and just going around to publish studies, and then who's the smartest people we know, right? The Andrew Hubermans, the Ben Greenfields, these guys all talk about nicotine, and it's not in high doses, but in small doses every now and then. Maybe if I want to sit here and I really want to get locked in and laser focused on something, but no, not the marijuana.
The nicotine, when you do it, what do you do? Just a little pouch here and there?
Yeah, just a pouch.
Little
just
Zinner?
To have it.
Zinner?
No, not Zen, man. Tucker Carlson changed my mind on Zen. So the Alps.
Oh, so are those the Tucker Carlson ones?
These are the Tucker Carlson ones, yeah.
Damn, I'm gonna have to try those out. I've been just doing these little 2 milligram ons here before I teach or maybe before I train, get it fired up a little bit. But the Alps, what milligram are those?
These are sixes.
Holy
So we got
smokes.
they got 3, 6, and 9. They sent me a little sample pack. I was like, oh, I'll try them. So I throw one of those in every now and then, and get after it, man.
Throw 6 in, shadow box in the mirror for a little bit. So you still train at Kill Cliff quite a bit?
Yeah, I haven't been down there since my fight. I've really been here rehabbing. I got a great rehab guy. He's actually been my body work guy, and then we do a little bit of PT in the past, but I need some specific PT stuff that we're doing right now. We did a 2-hour session today. I'm doing that three days a week right now, plus doing body work, plus the red light, plus the Hypermax oxygen, the Pimp mat, cold plunge, all that stuff. But yeah, when I go down to Kill Cliff, man, it's a great gym, man. You know, similar to you, man. It's like would Suga be where he is if he didn't have you in his corner, like truly have a dude that he's willing to go out into battle and die for. For me, that's Henri Hooft. And man, it's a great gym. It's a great team, great coaching staff, and I'll be there the rest of my career.
Besides just like obviously the world-class partners that you have, what are the things that stick out about the gym that you love about it?
Well, I do love the fact, I've been to a lot of gyms, man. I started in Las Vegas, did a camp in Arizona, was in San Diego for 4 years, 5 years. I've been to a lot of gyms all across the country. And the gym we have in Florida is very clean. It's very big. It's open. It's ran more like a professional athlete facility than it is just a MMA gym, So it's clean. It's well lit. We don't let just anybody off the streets come in. You got to kind of do an interview process almost. You got to send in a request or have a request or a referral from somebody, come in, sit down with the coaching staff, have them almost like do a background check on you basically. Because really, you know how it is. You're around dojos and gyms and all this stuff around the country, and like one bad apple in your gym, just like one bad apple in your organization can take the whole thing down. So we're very protective of it. So I do love that. And then, like I said, just Henri Hooft, to me, is the greatest striking coach for me personally, but he's also just a great man. He's a great leader. He's a dude I want to ride into battle with. And I truly love him like a family member, more than just a coach trainer, So those are the big aspects of it. Plus, it's in South Florida. When it's cold or rainy here in Nashville, it's nice to be down in Florida where it's warm and sunny.
Yeah, if I could probably pick one coach out there to train underneath and be under, Henri Hooft would probably be in the top 2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, and it's not even, and you probably, I don't know if you spent any time with him, but man, his striking abilities, his mind for the sport, but man, he's just like this, man. He's just calm. He's right in the middle, man. He's never too high. He's never too low. He's dealt with a lot of crap in his life, and he never gets low. He's coached multiple world champions, but he never gets too high. He's been in these big world title fights, and he's my constant when I'm in that corner, when I'm sitting on that stool. Just a great, great man of character. So, yeah, man, come on down and train.
Yeah, that's badass. So, gosh, Bellator has went under. You got any advice for these guys who lost their jobs? I feel bad for so many of these guys who are world-class fighters, and now their options are dwindling. I mean, you're going to fight for LFA where you make $3,000. It's like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the only option, obviously, is you want to fight back up and get into the UFC. Obviously, the new one, the GFL, which I don't know much about. I mean, it sounds like, what are these Bellator guys not getting the option to go into PFL? Is that your assessment?
I think some of them are just getting cut. I think some of them that aren't really big names that are making decent money, they're just like, hey, we just don't really need you at all. Yeah,
it's tough, man. And it's really funny how the UFC is under so much fire for buying Strikeforce and antitrust, and then PFL comes in, and all of a sudden, 12 months later, Bellator's gone. It's interesting, and I'll forever be indebted to Bellator for believing in me and giving me a chance. But those last couple of years, I was ready to get out. I knew I was needed to go to the UFC for myself. But some of those guys aren't in that position. And I remember being, not a household name and how long it is. And sometimes how alone on the hamster wheel of trying to get the next fight, do I take this fight? Do I do this camp? Do I take the damage for this amount of money? I remember being there, and it's a tough place to be. Making it in this sport is not easy. So I try to count my blessings every day, and it's interesting. We'll see, some of these guys who have been released. Is the UFC going to pick them up? Some of the bigger names in Bellator. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, even Patricky Pitbull, I'd love to see him in the 145 division, and a handful of guys. Usman, Nurmagomedov, him in the 55 division would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like Usman. Yeah, Usman is going to stay in PFL, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting this weekend against Paul Hughes.
Yep.
Yeah, which Paul Hughes, I don't know if you know much about him. He is an absolute stud. He trains with us sometimes down in Florida, and he's just a great dude. He's funny, he's humble, but he's also a freaking sniper, man. So it's that'll be an interesting one, and it's really funny how you see, Khabib retires, Islam gets at the top. Islam is talking about retiring not too long from now. After his last fight, it sounded like he's nowhere close to retiring, but he's hinted at it. And then all of a sudden, Islam will be gone, and then Usman will kind of swoop in and try to be the big name at 155. Those guys are doing some good things in Dagestan or wherever they train.
If Islam and Ilia Topuria go at it, who you think wins?
Man, I think not. Ilia Topuria may be one of my favorite guys to watch stylistically. His poise, how he doesn't force things. I got this. I kind of had this epiphany. Similar to what you were talking about, me just going out there and fighting like a bat out of hell. I try to win in wrestling. I wasn't good enough, so therefore I had to try to win by 1,000. Had to just break you and had to just hopefully eke out a win at the end. And I realized I've tried to do that in my fight career, where I try to win by 1,000, and really all I need to do is win by 1. I think Ilia does a really good job of trying to win by 1, not forcing anything, not getting outside of himself, not getting emotional, not pushing too hard, also not taking his foot off the gas too much. He's just right there in the middle until he lands the big knockout punch. I didn't think he was going to knock Max Holloway out, and he did. So I think he could catch Islam, but if that fight goes anything past 15 minutes, I think Islam beats him handedly, just because Islam is a large 155er, and I don't think Ilia is that big for 145. But like I said, ton of respect for both of those guys, especially Ilia Topuria, because I've watched a lot of his fights and studied him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's crazy. Yeah, I think the weights came out. Islam, I think, walked in the cage about 178 last weekend, and Hanato walked in about 181. But Islam is, he being around him, it's like he could be a welterweight easily. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's big, and he's tall. He's got the length. That's one thing about me. Everybody always says, about going up to 170. 170 sounds great from a weight perspective, but man, those guys are all 6 foot and above for the most part, so you got to have that length. You got to have that reach. Making 145 is out of the question for me. So I'll be up 55 for a while, unless there's some fun fight I jump up for at 170. That was the one great thing about the Conor fight. I was excited to fight at 170 and trained for 170 for an entire year and a half, basically. So yeah, man, Islam is a big 155er, especially after he fills up.
Yeah, he is. So say you and your wife have kind of an off night, the kids are in bed. What kind of shows you guys watch?
Oh, dude, this is embarrassing. We've been watching Love is Blind.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that or seen
Oh,
that?
yeah, I've watched it all.
Dude, good. I was like, I don't know. She had it on one night, and I was like, hey, what is this? This is stupid. They're falling in love without seeing each other. And then I think we watched a later season. We watched like season 6 or 7, and it was actually really good. I mean, a couple of tearjerkers in there, man.
Oh, yeah. I was balling.
Couple emotional moments, right? I got really invested in all the couples. And then we finished that season. We went to the season prior to it, and I feel like this one's got a little less love and a little more drama. So I got to kind of go through all of them and see. Other than that, man, we love the true crime stuff. We go on spurts where for 6 months straight, we're just watching true crime after true crime, which is really probably not great for you right before you go to bed. So I think I put the kibosh on that. Made me feel like someone's going to break into my house and murder my whole family. But yeah, those are kind of our
go-tos,
our pleasures, go-tos right now.
I just started that the new Enigma came out about Aaron Rodgers. It's pretty good. You got to check it out. But he ended up going on a 7-day blackout retreat where you go in a room for 7 days. They bring you your food under a door. You have a bathroom there, a shower there, a bed, but it's black and silent for 7 days.
Why?
Go deep inside yourself, Diesel.
Lose it.
Yeah, I think I actually watched that trailer, and I do want to watch it because I do think, you know, the word enigma is perfect for Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, he's pushing. Is he 41 now or something like that? 41, and you know, he shouldn't be doing it as long as he has been doing it. Tore his Achilles. He's battled through a lot, and then these last couple of years, him getting demonized for the whole COVID vaccine stuff. You know, it's he's been thrown into a bunch of hot water with a bunch of stuff going after him. So it's no surprise that he's kind of going outside of kind of your modern training / medicine techniques to really go on this journey. And he's still a freaking stud quarterback. But I don't know if I could do the sleep, or not the sleep, but the blackout sound and light deprivation stuff, man. I might have to hit. I'm sure they got a button in there. You know, if you're about to go, I'm sure they got a button. I want to hit that button.
Yeah, you'd probably learn a lot about yourself doing that. That would be insane. He also in there. He goes and does ayahuasca. He does some ayahuasca journeys and does that. Maybe after fighting, would you be interested in doing something like that?
I don't think so, man. I've heard enough stories where I'm like, hey, and like I said, I haven't done enough research, but people, the big overarching fear for everybody is like, hey, you want to get to a point where maybe you unlock some demons that you have, or you get over some humps and your life becomes better. But what if the exact opposite is true, that you unlocked something in yourself that you didn't really want? You wanted to keep it suppressed your entire life because it was good for you to keep it suppressed. You know, that would be my biggest fear with that, is like, I'm pretty happy with who I am, what I'm doing, how I operate, how my mind works. I got things I can work on, of course, but I think there's a little bit more traditional, less scary techniques that I can use, rather than go into a place where I may come out the other side a completely different person for the worse.
Yep, just full on hippie.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, being a hippie, there's nothing wrong with that. But you know, I also might be like, dang, something happened in my childhood that I completely forgot about, but now I remember it, and I wish I wouldn't have remembered it because, you know, because I, you know, like, or whatever it may be, you know, or there's something you've been suppressing your entire life because of a defense mechanism, but then all of a sudden the chains break loose and you're like, okay, now I got to live with this the rest of my life, when really I could have just ignored it my entire life. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at things. I don't know, but that's my viewpoint on it.
So have you ever talked to a sports psychologist, or have you read a lot of sports books that really stick out to you and you liked?
Yeah, man. So I went through a loss streak in Bellator. You know, I beat Eddie, my 12th fight. Then I won like 2 more fights. I rematched Eddie. So I'm like 12-0 at that time. And I lost my first fight to Eddie, and I went 3 fights in a row. That's when I lost to Eddie. Then I lost to Will Brooks on short notice because Eddie pulled out of the fight. And I was dealing with a back injury. I should not have taken the fight, but I took the fight anyway. And then I rematched Will Brooks and lost to him again. 688 days without winning a fight. And after my second loss, I was like, man, I'm in a bad place here, right? My body is built up and great, but my mind is shriveled. So I went and saw a sports psychologist. I sat in the chair, sat on the couch. We went through a bunch of stuff, and that really helped me. And I realized a lot of the mistakes that I was making, and really had to look in the mirror and realize who I had become and where the chinks in my armor were. And then since then, I've just been on this journey to never let it happen again. And I've read a lot of books. My favorite book on sports psychology is How to Think by Dr. Bob Rotella, which is actually a book about golf. So at first I thought I was going to hate it because I didn't really like golf at the time, but it's an individual sport mindset book. The battle between the ears is something I've always struggled with, way more than the fighting in the cage on fight night or the fighting in the sparring sessions. It's always been more mental for me than it has been physical, because I think I have all the physical gifts to be able to be the champion and win every fight. But my brain, my mindset has failed me sometimes, and it's a work in progress, and we're trying to get better every day.
Yeah, that's where, I mean, when someone's undefeated, it's clear that they're just so confident. But then once you get a couple losses and you've had great training camps and everything's went great, and you still go in that cage and you fail and you lose, it can do some shit to your mind. And that's why I'm always impressed with guys that have multiple losses on their record, and then they still come back to be world champions. It's like those guys are the real motherfuckers.
Yeah, man, because, you know, and I was almost kind of set up for failure a little bit. Like the sport of wrestling made me who I am, right? But in the sport of wrestling, it was a lot easier to lose and get back in the win column really quickly. You lose a match on Wednesday, and by Friday, you got another match and you can get back in the win column. But as you know, we fight, and all of a sudden, you might not fight for 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. And that's a long time for a lot of negativity to stew. And if you don't stand guard at the gate of your mind and really be consciously working on things and cognizant of the things that are going to tear you down, bring you down, the things that you engage in or the things that you're avoiding, or the things that you just aren't disciplined enough to do, is going to take more and more, add more and more weight to you and take more and more of your effectiveness. And I've done it numerous times in my career. I've always been a positive guy. I've always smiled through the adversity, but you know, behind closed doors, man, we're all human beings and we all have our doubts and fears and insecurities. So, and when you have to stew on it for a couple months, that's when it's tough. That's why I like to get right back on the horse away, man. I'm doing interviews. I'm talking about the loss or the win, but especially the loss, and then get back in the gym. If I'm healthy, eat right, you know, don't go on benders and do all that stuff, man, because that's all bad for you.
Usually in fight camp, how many times a week do you usually spar?
It's a good question. 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday has been kind of our schedule these last 8-10 camps I've done. The big thing is just light sparring the first couple sessions, and then do 4 or 5 weeks of harder sparring, and then light touch sparring the last couple weeks, man. Because the older I've gotten, I know how to fight. I just have to get the wheels back in motion. I got to get the timing and the distance and all that stuff back without taking the damage. That's why choosing the right sparring partners has been very, very key for me as well.
Yeah, I'm always curious on how people form their programs. Like I was watching a lot of Habib's videos, and it sounds like Monday is a hard day, 2 times hard, pretty hard. Morning really hard, afternoon a little bit lighter. Tuesday's lighter, Wednesday hard, Thursday's lighter, Friday's hard. So they do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, real hard sessions. You usually split your days up like that too on the in-betweens?
Yeah, I mean, ours are hard in the morning and light in the evening almost every day, basically. You know, we got morning drills. I guess the morning isn't too hard, but it's a longer practice. In the morning, we do a lot of drills. Night is individual work. Tuesday morning, we spar hard. Tuesday night, we do more individual stuff. Wednesday morning is hard wrestling, and then strength and conditioning on Wednesday afternoon. Thursday's just like Tuesday, sparring in the morning, individual stuff at night. And the individual stuff at night is usually a lot easier, more detailed stuff. And I work out once on Saturday, usually once on Friday, fly home. Friday night, get a quick session in, Saturday morning workout, and then off on Sunday. And that's worked out really well for me. Crazy thing is just adding the 10X recovery stuff is I was doing three a days, at least 3 days a week this last camp. But I felt great because it's a third workout. I get on the Hypermax. I'm breathing 93% oxygen while I'm on the bike. But it's only about 15 minutes. So I sweat and I get a workout in, but it's nothing that's taxing my body. If anything, it's a workout recovery session more than an actual workout itself. It just takes a lot of time, you know, working out 2, 3, 4, you know, like 4 or 5 hours a day takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So maybe what about a night where you're looking to let loose a bit and have some snacks? What's some of your go-to snacks or treats that you do?
Chocolate, anything. Chocolate, anything. Like chocolate covered nuts, chocolate covered pretzels. My biggest guilty pleasure right now, which it's not really that guilty of a pleasure because it's like an ice cream, but it's called a Yasso bar, Yasso. I think it's frozen yogurt. They're like 100 calories a piece, so they're not crazy calorie dense, and it's frozen yogurt, so it's better than ice cream. Doesn't have a ton of sugar in it, but they're delicious. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll eat 2 at a time. So yeah, man, those are my snacks, but my wife knows she make me these little snack cups where it's just chocolate covered anything. I'm I like my firstborn protein bars are delicious. That's my on the go snack if I need a little sweet tooth. But I try to keep it clean, man, because the older I've gotten, man, I'm tired of cutting weight. I've been cutting weight since I was 14 years old, so I don't want to get too fluffy and have to go from 190 something down to 155. I like to keep it in the mid to upper 80s.
Oh, really? Mid to upper 80s. Jeez, that's still big, especially how dense you are.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't this dense sometimes. I feel like I've lost a little bit of muscle mass, which I'm happy about. I trained like that for a little while and kind of pulled back on the protein for a little while to kind of muscle waste a little bit because, man, yeah, I lift heavy. I think that's a big reason why my body has held up this long. So I've always kept a lot of muscle mass, but the older I've gotten, as you age, you lose a little bit of muscle mass anyway. So it's partly that and partly because of the way I'm training. And I feel like my cardio was better this last fight than it was even 2 years prior to that against Poirier. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. I still feel fast, still feel powerful. I'm still stronger than anybody else in the weight class in my eyes. So I don't need to be big and dense.
Hell yeah. How about your boys? Are they getting into any sports?
Yeah, man, they're playing all the sports, man. My son Hap right now is playing basketball. We just signed him. Well, so he'll go into football season right after this over the summer. We're playing baseball. And then he does sports camps all summer. So like 1 week we'll put him in wrestling, 1 week we'll put him in tennis, 1 week we'll put him in pickleball, 1 week we'll put him in basketball. The Nashville's got a really good summer sports camp kind of scene, if you will. There's a sports camp every single week. So even things like, I don't think he's going to play tennis. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but it's at least coordination. He's getting out there. He's mixing it up with other kids. And then my son Ace, who is built like a freaking defensive end, who's 2.5 right now. He's already playing basketball and baseball with like 4 and 5 years old, 4 and 5 year old, and only 3. So it's fun, man. I think sports, whether they stick with it through middle school, high school, college, pros, whatever, as far as they want to take it, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to be in the team camaraderie, do something hard, say yes, sir, no, sir to your coaches, show up on time, build a life of structure for them, and get freaking beaten down so we can lift them back up. We get beaten down so we can lift them back up, man. I want my kids to fail early and fail often because if anything that I've learned in my life, it's the failures that have taught me everything that I've learned and made me a better man. So it kills me every time they lose. It kills me every time they cry, but I know it's good for them. So the more times I can get them and put them in situations where they're galvanized by fire, the better.
Hell yeah. That's good shit. Well, dude, thanks so much for doing this. What's up, Nick?
Yeah, I got one more question for you, Mike. I mean, you're involved in multiple businesses, full-time fighting, full-time dad. So what do you do to stay organized? Do you have a to-do list, a calendar? How do you make sure that you're getting everything you need to get done in a day?
Dude, it's a great question, and I would love to just be candid with you right now. My wife and I had a conversation 2 nights ago, like both of us about to have tears in our eyes of just how much it just feels like we are so disorganized right now. And I think sometimes you need to get to that point to where you really prioritize organizing things and planning things and taking ownership of what's important, but also what is urgent, right? There's a lot of things that are important in your life, but they're not urgent, right? So the amount of times that we look at 5 things on our plate and we think, okay, every single one of them is important, but only 2 of them are urgent. So don't worry about the 3 that aren't urgent right now. Just focus on the things that are urgent that need to be done right now, and we will eventually get the other 3 done. And I go through seasons where I'm absolutely awesome at it and I'm dialed in and everything's firing on all cylinders. And then sometimes I feel like a chicken with my head cut off and I feel like my head is below water. But man, yeah, we try to keep a schedule. My wife and I have a shared schedule in our calendar, or a shared calendar in our phones. My assistant has access to it. My media director has access to it. We got all my kids' stuff in it in a different color. All my stuff, work stuff in black. My son's school stuff in purple. My wife's work schedule in pink. Other things in yellow, other things in blue, and it's all organized that way so I can always pull it up. And you guys can say, hey, what are you doing next Tuesday? I'll be like, hold on. I don't have to think. I look at it and I can dial it in right there. So keeping a schedule and having everybody on the same page has been our superpower when we really are firing on all cylinders. But just as I just admitted, man, we go through seasons where we're like, okay, we overcommitted in about every single area of our life, and we need to pull back some things unless they're absolutely urgent. And then, as we talked earlier, or as Timbo said, me taking control of my day, that's when I really set the intention for my day. So when I wake up and I'm laying in the red light bed and I'm reading or I'm writing, that's when I can really get my mind right and get ready to tackle the day. So I know what is coming ahead of me, instead of just firing blind.
Yeah, that's badass. Well, for all my listeners, at Mike Chandler on YouTube, he's got a good YouTube page where he's sharing a bunch of wisdom, and at Mike Chandler on Instagram. Shoot him a follow. We'll have the link in the description of his YouTube page, so go check it out. Mike, thank you so much, brother, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for having me. It was good to see you at the fights last weekend, and God bless. I'll see you at the tap.
Let's go, baby. Joe Diesel, you had an altercation with a fella at the urinal because you were taking too long to pee.
This fucking pissing shit in public is getting out of control. Fucking, I've never had a problem peeing in urinal and something, but now it's just getting out of control. Out of control.
And you ever think about getting the prostate looked at?
It's not the prostate. It's not. That's what this fuck said last night. They got me a little. He said it was like he alluded it was because of my prostate, but it's just I'm nervous. That's all it is. It's just I'm nervous.
You're in a urinal by yourself and you're nervous.
No, so it was like 4 or 5 urinals, and everybody had pissed and left and came back. There was many people going back, so I'd taken about 2 minutes, but I didn't know this guy was fucking just not going to the. He's behind. You know, people get behind the person in the line,
trying to take a peek at your little piece.
Yeah, that's happened several times. no, but fucking just got me. Yeah, just bringing to light how fucking ridiculous it is to struggle pissing in public.
Yeah.
And dude, last night was the worst fucking. But dude, I had horrible sleep paralysis last night. Fucking the worst I've ever had. Dude,
nightmares or?
Yeah, I mean, just like the normal shit, but it was fucking just. It just felt worse. I couldn't go back to sleep, just sitting in the corner like a fucking scared rat all night.
Dude, well, probably just as important as the morning routine is, probably your night routine is. And if you're staring at TikTok till 2 a.m.
No, I put the boot to the, I don't do that, but it's still, I fucking wander around and just, I'm like hearing Michael Chandler, you guys talk about your morning routine. Fuck, I'd love to get something like that going. I'm just not fucking equipped like that.
You just wake up, throw a corn dog in the microwave,
fucking hit the goddamn road, man. It's fucking. I always just check to see the news, seeing what's going on because all the shit's going on now. But after that, I'm just.
So right when you wake up, you grab that phone.
No. Yeah. Let's just go ahead. It's not for that. It's to see the time. It's to do that. I don't just start moseying around on that, but yeah, I do. I do. No, I don't. I look at political news and that's about it. And then I just kind of have a hard time pissing for the rest of the day. That's a horror. It's fucking. Is it? You think it's that bad? You having your phone by you? Is that why you leave it in the car?
I think it's bad. Just if the first thing, I mean, you go to sleep, you like fall asleep looking at that phone, and you wake up and look at that thing is bad.
Just fucking nodding. Yeah, for sure. That's bad. You started doing that. That's why you left your phone in the kitchen or something.
Put it in a different room. Put it on airplane mode and just get rid of that fucking thing. Probably around. I wish it was earlier, but probably around 9.
Mariah do the same thing.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. It's the time. You have a clock by your bed and all that stuff. As I should. I don't have one of those. I need to put like an alarm clock you put by your bed.
Yeah.
Phone takes place for all that shit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do about this sleep paralysis. This is crazy,
dude.
It's happening a lot, dude.
I bet you the more you dial in your good food and be hydrated and start going to bed at the right time, it'll probably help.
So it can't fucking make it worse. I mean, I tell you what, since I retired, just things are getting worse. That fucking with the sleep paralysis, it's getting.
And maybe not right before you lay down, smoking the bong.
The bong? No, I don't smoke the bong. Yeah, I do. No,
you do, man.
Yeah, it's that possibly be good. I don't know. I've always had this my whole life, and I've only started smoking pot like 6 months, a year, whatever it's been. Mm-hmm. I've had this sleep paralysis the whole fucking time.
Yeah, it's scary.
Struggling to piss in public's kind of new, but.
And you came to me saying potentially, you're going in the ring again for another.
I don't know. This is fucking.
Don't.
It's. I don't know. Fucking who knows? If I can't sleep normal or piss normal, what am I doing trying to fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And maybe before the next fight, we can get a little exercise in your system before we go in there.
No. I'd rather just go in there fucking cold, just hitting the road. God damn you, Tim. That would fucking.
No.
If I could, if I could just fucking get rid of my mind at night, just like stop fucking thinking about stuff, or just I have some sort of fucking routine. That's what I would love. How do you even establish that?
It'd be good for you, dude. Because usually Lisa goes to bed before you.
Yeah, you just like you said the other day. Same exact kind of
What
thing.
if you started crawling in with her and going to bed with her?
She goes to sleep. I would love nothing more than go to sleep with my wife every night. She just doesn't. She goes to sleep at 7 o'clock. It's too early, man. It is. Like in the summertime, the sun will still be out, and I'm just sitting there.
And that's probably right when your favorite program's starting on the television.
Yeah, well, if the 90 Day Fiance is on that night, she'll bump it back maybe to 8, but it's still fucking. I'm an insomniac. God,
so old Trump's been putting on some stipulations real quick, huh?
What do you have you been watching, paying attention?
I've been trying. I'm just waiting for him to start doing his Bitcoin strategic reserve, and I'm just like, come on.
What do you mean?
Baby,
what are they doing with that?
They're thinking about buying a lot of Bitcoin to have it be the reserve for the United States.
Really? And is that going?
If he does that, then the Bitcoin is going to go big. It's going to go up. It's going to go way up.
When are you going to find out if he's doing that?
He just talked about it. He just talked about it yesterday at his speech. He said he wants America to be the #1 place for crypto.
Fuck yeah.
So it said Trump to sign his executive order related to Bitcoin and crypto in the next 30 minutes.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to see when he's going to declassify the JFK stuff and all the other. That's exciting to me.
Oof. Could get messy, huh? That was tweeted 45 minutes ago.
Did you guys see the video of Logan Paul and Conor McGregor at the inauguration?
That was good.
What happened?
They got put on a bus somehow together. And Conor was yapping at him, and it was pretty entertaining.
He says, "Y'all are a side project to me."
Mm-hmm. Is that what it says?
He said, "You're a side project to me," and then Logan said, "You can't even do your main project." He
That's
said, "Well,"
what it said.
And he said, "Well, fair play to you." Or
That's
something.
a good clip, man. Just fucking burned him with that one.
Yeah. So,
you think he's gonna come back and fight or no?
Realistically, in the UFC, I don't think so, dude.
Chandler spent years fucking chasing down that fight, right?
Yeah,
that's horrible.
But
that's the thing. I mean, I realize that Conor's earned the right to be able to be in talks about a $250 million fight with Logan Paul, even though all of us sitting here are like, okay, that's a stupid farce. But it's like, well, do you really want to put in a 12-week training camp and then fight me? Yeah. Or I'm going to try to take your head or go do an exhibition with 15-ounce gloves and make a lot more money.
Yeah.
But the UFC is not going to do it. He's still under contract. So unless the UFC gets paid bank, who knows? Like, I'm sure that's how it happened with Floyd Mayweather. At least that was the assumptions out there. Like, who knows? But
yeah, I mean, if he's got to go in the training camp and now bring in all these wrestlers who are taking him down, kickboxing, and it's like, or you can put on boxing gloves and go box and make fucking quadruple the amount of money you're going to make.
Isn't the UFC getting involved with the boxing stuff? Aren't they trying to?
Well, I think they're partners with the WWE now.
They own both companies, right? Whatever company owns the UFC now owns the WWE.
Shit, I'm not 100% sure.
Is that what it is, Michael?
Yeah, TKO Group owns everything, and that's why it's interesting. It's intriguing. I'm like, well, that actually does make sense. If TKO Group's like, hey, we're putting on big fights like the Logan or Jake Paul versus Tyson, why not do Conor versus Logan? Who knows? But it would just have to make I don't know. It'd have to make a lot of sense for the UFC. And if that's the case, better put me as the co-main event.
Yeah, for real. All right, Michael, you're good to go, brother. Thanks again. You the man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Have a great one.
You too. Talk to you soon.
See you, boys.
Take care.
Yeah, well, that was great. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. Comment what you think below. And we'll see y'all next week. Love y'all. Bye-bye.